Yeah. And what's in your mug? There you go. You can add into the chat what your name is, where you're calling from, why you're inspired to be here, and what's in your mug.
Yeah, we're really here is we want to know what's in the mug.
Mine says, "Good morning, Seattle," and it's got mud water. So we're doing good so far today.
Sure, I'll go. I just happen to have a new cup. It says Thief River Falls, Minnesota. That's where I am.
Perfect. See, mine represents my place too. I love it. Remind us where we are in the world. You know?
That's right. And I'm Gail, and I'm excited to be here because you guys are keeping my butt to the fire, and you're keeping me refocused. I love it.
Wonderful. Well, we need people who keep us focused and inspired. So that's why we're here. Yeah. Well, welcome. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. And you guys can see my screen okay? All right. So welcome to our fourth workshop for the introduction of Creators Club. I'm really excited. We're in the home stretch as we basically open the club on May 2nd. Is it, Bradley? I think that's when the official doors open, but we've got another week of workshop next week. And obviously when you go to the events page, you can see all the recordings from our previous workshops if you haven't had a chance to. It is a creative incubator of other soulful entrepreneurs and creators who are making magic in the world. And we're really just calling in the power of community and collaboration and co-creation to support all of you and all of us to create the things that we're being called to create. And so it does take a village, is what we have each learned. And Neil and Bradley and I are fellow creators who have been doing this a little while. We know that it really is so powerful and exponentially valuable to have a community of people behind you who are doing what you're doing and who've maybe taken a couple steps ahead of where you're at and are doing things that you want to be doing and can share the path to get there. So that's really the idea behind Creators Club. So thank you again for coming. Today's particular topic is my gift to this contribution, and it is really about the inspired brand. And before we begin, I'm going to actually call in something I could use after 10 days of traveling and landing last night, which is a little grounding. And Camille's going to join us here into the room. So please, I invite you to just gently close your eyes for a moment and feel your seat. And start to take nice, deep inhale and exhale. So you inhale, imagine that you're breathing in fresh creativity and inspiration. And you exhale any stagnation or tiredness. With each inhale, breathe in potential and creativity. And with every exhale, release any doubt or fear. Your next inhale, bring your shoulders up and back and release any tension. And as you start to just settle, feel that energy that's rising up, that inspired you to come here today, that called you for some reason to be here in this very moment, to connect with this information and these people. There's something, an energy that sometimes is hard to define. That is the energy that we are going to tap into today. It's our creative impulse. And it has many names. And so we'll be using words like the muse, spirit, inspiration, and it's all correct. There is an energy that moves through us, and it calls on us to create our lives, to create businesses, to create just for the sake of creating. And that's the energy that we are going to tap into so that we can really get to the heart and the soul of why we're here. So take one more deep breath and exhale it all out. And gently and slowly start to open your eyes and come back into the space. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining me and us. I'm so excited. Today is going to be just a weaving of a lot of years of doing this work myself, for myself, and for many clients. So the core question that came through as I was preparing this is, what's your mission and what's your message? Because when I started thinking about all the things really that I help people to do in my work, this is really truly at the core of it. When people are not clear about this, nothing else works. The beauty of a brand that I put together has to align with a core mission and message. And so this is the part that I think is really core and important for us to get clear about. And from here, and that clarity allows everything else to really flow effortlessly. So we're going to get to the heart and soul of what branding is, because a lot of people get confused. I used to get confused about branding and what it is. And so before we jump into anything visual or creating a business, we need to know why. And we're actually going to get into kind of how to create a little bit of a foundational map for ourselves, and also how to keep ourselves inspired, because that's really the important thing. Is if you're not inspired, nothing you put out into the world is going to be inspiring. So that's the sort of give and take and the energy that we're going to tap into. So there are some fundamental pieces to the branding process, which we're going to cover and hopefully make it fun and interactive and kind of demystify it a little bit for you. But really the goal is that I want you to feel clear, purposeful, and authentic. That's the word that a lot of people tell me over and over again. Like, I just don't feel like it's really me. I don't feel like what I'm actually putting out there resonates in the ways that I want it to, whether it's visually or whether it's the words that you're using. It's like, so I want you to feel inspired and excited to share yourself and your work and your creative work with the world. That's how it's supposed to feel when it's truly aligned. So today's going to be interactive. Grab your pen. We're about to jot down some stuff. And so as we start, I just want to do a very quick brainstorm. I'm calling it a soul inquiry. And so we're going to take 3 minutes. So it's very fast. I want you to just write whatever it is that comes first into your mind. And you're going to just start to tap into your intuition and get some inspiration flowing. So just free write. And one question that I like to start with is, what is your soul yearning for you to create? And just write whatever comes to mind. This could be for your business, but it doesn't have to be. Should have had another playlist going here, but Neil's the audio guy. So next time we'll weave that in, but feel free to have your own music playing. Oh, sorry. Gail.
I have a question right off. I'm trying to learn to go with the first thing that pops into my head and not let my other part of me govern, what the hell is that supposed to do? Yeah. So the first word that popped into my head was fun. And I'm like,
do it.
I'm going, what?
Do it.
Hell, what do I do with? Do you know what I mean? I'm like, okay.
So just write it and we'll talk about all the stuff that shows up for us when we actually tap into what our soul really wants. Because there's no reason why fun is not an appropriate answer to this question, by the way. Actually, I'll share that fun was one of the biggest things that Bradley and Neil and I decided we wanted to create for the Creators Club. And that's actually what drew us to each other, is we actually have genuine fun when we just interact, and we want to weave that into how we work with you guys as well. So fun works. All right. And then what gifts do you have to share with the world? And again, write whatever comes to mind. Like, really, if you were to imagine that you were your best friend, what would you tell yourself that you have to offer? And I'm going to let you guys keep writing, but we are going to go through this just so we can get through as much as we can. How do you most wish to be of service? This could be something that you still have a question. And if you have a question about it, also just write that down. I'm not sure. And just keep it flowing. I want to know more about how I want to be of service or can be of service. And then what inspires you about the work you do? And this could be, maybe the work that you would be bringing forth in Creators Club. And this kind of goes hand in hand, but what is your greatest wish for your work and your creative contributions? So if you could think as big as possible, what do you want that to contribute long-term? Maybe it's a book, or maybe it's that one person is inspired to blank. Doesn't have to be big, but it just has to be meaningful to you. We really do need music. This is where I wish I sang a little bit better. I would serenade you guys, and but next time. All right. And this one is, what are your biggest challenges, or what doesn't feel clear? Where do you feel like you need support right now? This is in a really loving way. Like, I feel I need support to clarify my vision. I feel I need support to bring my amazing gifts fully into offerings that, sustain my work in the world, whatever it is. But it's always with love and honoring that you don't have to have it all right to create amazing things, and that other people will support you and should support you to make it happen. Okay, and keep writing. Last question, what does your dream website look and feel like? And this is something that a lot of clients either really get or they struggle with. But as an example, expansive, inspiring, creative, peaceful, clear, knowledgeable. And if you guys want, if you have a moment, just type in a word or anything that came through in that you want to kind of anchor in for the rest of our time together. You can type that into the chat. Okay. Beautiful. So we will move on, but I hope that got a little bit of the soul and inspiration flowing for us to get started. So my name is Claudia Miro. I am the Chief Inspiration Officer at The Inspired Brand, and we are a brand strategy, web design, and communications agency based out of Seattle, Washington. I have been doing this work for almost 14 years, and I did not start out thinking that I would even call myself a brand anything. I actually used to hate the word brand. And so it's been a journey. It's been a labor of love. And I actually realized that this organic process that I was doing with people as I would go to help them, because I was a marketing communications professional, that in order for us to build a website or to put out an email campaign that really moved people, that really made a difference, that got people to actually open their email or, stick around the website, that there was a process that I was taking people through that was just organic, that it was a relational experience that I was having with people, but it was also clarifying certain things. It was clarifying their message. It was walking them basically through what I eventually found out was an actual brand strategy process. So I've actually had to learn through doing, and I'm still learning every single day. But what I wanted to share with you guys is if you don't have if you're not in a place where you can hire a brand strategist, I kind of want to hack that process for you so that you can actually walk yourself through a brand strategy process. And so this is kind of my formal bio, but I actually would want to just start with what I believe so that we can just ground this in. I believe that entrepreneurship is a deeply creative and transformational journey. I believe creativity is our birthright. And I believe more and more of us are being called to create from a place of wholeness and to integrate and infuse the fullness of who we are into every aspect of our lives, including and especially in business. And I believe that we are being called to show up and be more visible, to step up as leaders, and to use our essence. Oh, this was my own personal belief statement. So as feminine, conscious creators, to impact those we serve and create new paradigms for how business and life can be done. And so I wanted to start with a statement because instead of telling you all the things I've done, I wanted you to really understand my soul and my heart and the part of me that is driving everything that I create in the world. And that is actually what an inspired brand does. An inspired brand gets to the heart and soul of why this business exists in the world. And it also connects to the humanity and the heart and soul of the people that you're there to serve, your audience. And so statements like this, or, really having a belief statement, we call it manifesto, we call it belief statement. This is a really important piece that I suggest everybody do. And it's really simple. You just put ... I believe ... and let it go, let it flow, and use this as a journal prompt. We won't have time, but if you have some notes and you want to jot this down, and I'll share my slides afterwards, so you guys can have this with the recording as well. So this is one piece I wanted to share. And this is kind of what I call, this was part of introducing my business in a new way, which I'm actually working on our own rebrand. So we do transformational branding, websites, and communications for soulful creators and community leaders. And I work with a team. So this is my team. I also believe in the power of empowering women around the world. And so my team is a group of global women from literally all over the world. And so this is just 6 of them. We've got a few more coming here. And so these are my beautiful co-creators and co-crafters. And this journey for me of having my business, of doing this work, came through a really deep soul inquiry that I was in about, what am I here to do? Like, what is my purpose in the world? I had been in this process for a long time of sort of doing a lot of different things and feeling like I didn't really have that thing, my thing that I was being called to do. I wanted so deeply to be of service, and I wanted to really work with people who inspired me, but I didn't know how to package that and how to package all my gifts and really make that my offering. And I also had this whole thing where I didn't understand how business and branding and marketing especially could actually be spiritual. So I was on these 2 paths that I was really passionate about. I really loved the creative aspects of entrepreneurship. I actually just was an entrepreneur. Growing up, I just always saw myself having my own business. I was, always creating business ideas in my head. But then, I started on my spiritual path, and I just kind of assumed that that my spiritual path would kind of take over at some point, and that the business side was something I was doing in the meantime. And that is not the case. So I've had to come to the realization that everything is our spiritual path, especially now. We need to weave creativity, inspiration, and spirit into business. And that is what we're being asked to do. So I just wanted to kind of share. I was actually at a writing retreat at the base of Mount Rainier here in Washington. And I was sitting with a group of women at the Revolutionary Living Institute. It was a community of women who wanted to do business and life differently. And that was our connection. And I'm here in this stunning nature setting. And we were in this little yurt, and we were doing these writing exercises. And I just started, writing, like, what is my intention? What is that belief statement kind of started there. And a friend of mine turned to me, and I started telling her what it is that I wanted. And she said, I just saw the words in and spirit. And I said, the inspired brand. And that actually that is the foundation of the word inspired. And so my journey of trying to figure out how to actually offer my gifts is what created the Inspired brand. And now I'm doing the same for other people. And I walk them through that process. So how do we then take it from this like soulful spiritual place? Well, let's break it down into the fundamentals. So branding can be hard to define. It's really hard to quantify sometimes, but even for those of us who do it for a living. So it's a living, breathing thing. So I'll share with you guys how to start to understand it in a way that I think will help as you start to develop your own brand. So the word brand actually did come, a lot of people say, from this cattle branding and actually marking something, right, with this brand, with this seal. But branding is sort of all that seal represents. So imagine the brand, the logo is the visual identifier, right? But the process of branding is like, well, what do you think of when you think of that ranch or those people that own that property? Or, you know what I mean? So it's like branding is a relationship to the experience that you have with a business or an identity of some kind. So it's the idea, the image that people have in mind when they're thinking about specific products or services or a business owner. And there's an emotion to it. There's a feeling, and then there's an emotion to it. So it's not just about the physical or the visual pieces. You want to develop as part of an inspired brand anyway, the feeling that people have. And you also want to develop the human characteristics so that people actually connect to it more as a person than just a business, right? All right. I hope this is all making a little sense as we dive into some of this. So there's like the technical version, which I put this picture because it does feel like we're weaving this like inspiration and this ephemeral energy into something tangible. That's what I think branding is. So the formal version definition is it's the process of giving meaning to a specific organization, company, products, and services by creating and shaping a brand in consumers' minds. I don't love that definition, so I created one that says branding is an alchemical process of turning purpose and inspiration into form through defining a business's unique essence and values and communicating them in a cohesive and aligned way. Ta-da! So I prefer that because it is an alchemical process. It is unique and different. Every single time I do a branding process with somebody, it's like, whoa, okay, that was fun and interesting and different, because every person is in a different place when they start putting their brand together. There's different inspiration that is driving you to create what it is that you're wanting to create versus what I'm creating, right? And so what I've had to do over the years is create kind of like a very light but helpful structure and framework to contain that process. And then the magic happens inside of that. All right. So what is inspired branding? This is what I've had to define for myself and what the work is that we do. It's really how to stand up and stand out. And I believe the 3 principles of inspired branding is something that transcends the visuals. It really has to start and lead with soul. And the soul is whatever you want it to be. It's our higher purpose. It's our higher power. It's that energy that we tapped into at the beginning that really is driving our life force, that is nudging us towards creating this thing. And it's something greater than you. So whatever soul is for you. So it's really being led by that, feeding yourself with that inspiration, that soul, so that you can then transcend that through your business and your brand. It also clearly communicates your purpose, your values, and your commitments. And it inspires action and it moves your audience. So inspired brand is something that makes people feel something, hopefully something positive. All right. And then we're almost done with some of this foundational stuff, and we're going to get into the fun, create your own. All right. Branding versus marketing. I think this is an important thing to call out because a lot of people get confused about this. So they do have a symbiotic relationship. Marketing is the actions that you take to connect your goods and your services with your customers. And you want, obviously, them to buy your goods, products, and services. And it's also the strategies that get those products and services in front of your audience. So marketing is strategy and advertising, really, if you break it down. Whereas branding, it's part of marketing, but it's the part that actually shapes the feeling, the personality, It defines who you are as a company. And it's the creative and the strategy work that goes into cultivating and maintaining your business's persona. So it's a deeper process. It actually, I like to think of it as branding makes your business human. And then marketing shares that human with the humans you're meant to serve. All right. Okay. Questions? Any insights or epiphanies you want to share? Cool. Hi, Taryn. Wonderful for you to join. All right. So elements of branding. I just thought this was helpful. A lot of people think that a brand is a logo. It includes a logo. As we mentioned before, that seal is an important piece of knowing that ranch owns that particular brand of cattle. But the elements transcend much more than a logo. So it's a story. Your brand is a living, ever-evolving story. It's an experience much more than it's a tangible product or a thing. And when I work with clients, we go through different phases. The first phase is the discovery and the strategy process. And during that process, the goal is to help clients understand their story, to understand and clarify the purpose behind why it is that they're doing what they're doing, and then really clearly create and craft a way for them to communicate that purpose and that story visually and practically in a way that resonates and it connects on a deeper level. So we're walking people through identifying initially their purpose, the promises, the problems that they solve, et cetera. And then we're going to turn that into a brand name. So Taryn knows, because she's worked with me, that even getting this name right? It's not just your name, your business name, how you're going to call your products. Naming is actually a really cool part. And MAJIK media, turning it from magic into magic with a J and a K gives it a different energy, right? So all of that is part of branding. And it's how you kind of, again, transcend your personality, your purpose, why you actually exist. It's going to be communicated through your brand name, your logo, which is the icon, the symbol, the anchor, right? So that everybody knows when that seal or that symbol is attached to something that is part of your brand. Graphics and imagery. So again, images are it's not just images, it's the concepts that you're communicating visually, right? So you'll notice some of the images that I select. There's a very clear energy that I want people to feel when they look at some of my work. And the word inspiring is part of that. Color scheme, all of that, the colors that you choose, typography, tone, and voice, all of these are elements of brand. Okay. Other elements which aren't necessarily part of the work that I do necessarily, but it is part of it, is slogans, jingles, catchphrases. I definitely do messaging, which is part of that, but also this is more like if you're doing advertising, if you're going to be putting out ads and radio and TV and things like that. Event experiences. I think this is a big one. I was with my friend in Carmel, who that's her bag. She does, these big corporate events and meetings. And so for her, she designs, what do I want people to feel when they come? But this can apply to coaches as well, workshops, retreats, et cetera. So that is all part of branding as well. Okay. All right. So how do we craft a brand? Well, I'm going to share that with you. So again, I've mentioned this process. So we kind of first have to figure out what is the thing. So discovery is that's why I call that process. First, we have to discover what is the thing. And if you were to hire us for branding, we'd take you through this whole process, and it would start with that deep dive discovery. Let's get into the soul of what it is that you're being called to create. And then from there, we create a strategy or a roadmap, basically. So how do we get from here to there? That's part of the strategy. Then we craft a story and we create some messaging around that. So, why do you do what you do? What's the purpose of that? Well, let's tell the story of that brand, and then let's communicate that through website copy, through taglines and things like that. Purpose and positioning. This is part of the bigger piece of the strategy puzzle. This is like, why do you exist as a business, and how do you fit into the bigger panorama of not only your competitive landscape, but, in people's minds? How do you fit in their life, in their story? Identity and logo design, we've already talked about. Brand imagery, and then I call it promotional branding and asset development. So this is like, once you have all those pieces in place, then you create social media graphics, you create, presentation decks, you create all that stuff. But these are kind of the core components of becoming an actual full-fledged brand. And then I don't think I need to cover this again, but this is all that happens inside of that. And as I mentioned, once you have those pieces in place, you sort of create this like map for yourself. So it starts with the mission, vision, goals, purpose, and then you craft that brand personality. So we'll talk about that next. And then you're going to go in and do like, who are my people? Where do they hang out? What do they value? What is missing for them? How can I serve? And then you go, okay, well, what's the gap that I'm filling, right? What are the opportunities? And some of this in technical jargon is called a SWOT analysis. So strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And then we craft what's called a roadmap. So because we don't have time to go through all that, we're just going to do the fun kind of practical stuff for you to leave with something. And I thought if I had to share one thing about how to like redirect your brand efforts, I wanted to start with this concept. And it's inspired by a man named Simon Sinek, who I think maybe some of you know. And if you don't, that's okay. But you can find a lot of his stuff on YouTube. And he's this like philosopher and kind of social anthropologist, I guess. I don't know. He's really brilliant. And the really simple way to think about this is that he says this is how great leaders inspire action. They don't start with the who or the what or the how. They start with the why. And it's really simple, but it's really, really powerful. And it's sometimes hard because I know from my clients, they've been building their skills and they've been learning all their things that they know for such a long time that they want to show you how much they know. So they start in their marketing with how, or the what, or the who, right? That's very common and it's very heart-driven, especially for heart-driven entrepreneurs. That's what we do. So this is flipping that inside out and saying, why? Why do you do what you do? And then we share how, what, and who. So his examples are, Apple, computer, Martin Luther King Jr., Wright brothers. So I'll give you one quick one, which is, well, before I get into that. So the whole point of that is, why do you do what you do and why should people care? Basically. So Apple is really a good example because they start with, we make amazing computers. We inspire through design. That's actually one of the core principles. We create computers that are simple to use, user-friendly, and beautiful to work with. Want to buy one? That's essentially it. But they inspire you first through really connecting to the why. For them, this aspirational piece of design being front and center, and also that they're innovating. That was another word for them, right? They innovate through design. And then what was the other one that I wanted to share? I think there's a couple examples, so I'll just leave that. But I'll save that one. So the idea here is, what is your why? Right. And so our why, I just will share the inspired brand. So this is kind of a personal mission statement or why statement that I started weaving, but I think it's important. But this is an example. We believe we are living through unprecedented times. Humanity is experiencing a massive shift of consciousness that's breaking down old destructive ways of being to make way for a more sustainable way of life. This process is demanding us to step up and fully into our gifts, our creativity, and our leadership, and requiring more connection, more collaboration, more creative thinking, and more soul. So this is not going to be on my website necessarily, but this is, for me, going to be up on my wall. And it's also driving, for me, why I want to continue to do the work that I do. So there's business why statements, which is what we're going to help you craft right now. People don't buy what you do. Ooh, and I see a typo. They buy why you do it. So what is your why? We're going to help you craft this really quickly. And again, this is a stream of consciousness exercise, so don't overthink it. You can go back and refine it. But first and foremost, just write down, what do you believe? What do you believe about something as it relates to the work that you do? Why do you do the work that you do? As an example, I believe people need more support than ever. I coach. I help clients feel supported through coaching and mentorship. And that next line is actually one structure that I find helpful. So I help blank through blank. It's just a very simple way to think about why and also who. Another helpful prompt might be, and you can just look on the screen and pick whichever one resonates for you. I do my work so that blank. I create content so that blank. I have my own business so that blank. That one's a good one for me, because there's been times where I go, why don't I just go get a real job? And that I haven't had that thought in a long time, but I used to have that thought. And so what is it that inspires you? What's the why that's going to get you to overcome the challenges of entrepreneurship? Because there's challenges in life. Pick your challenge. But I have my own business so that I can create my life, so that I can design my day, so that I have the flexibility to create work-life balance and choose the work that I do in the world. My business exists so that, I think this is a big part of the why statement that we're going to weave into your mission statement and a couple other pieces we're going to talk about. So why, other than making money, does your business exist? All right. Let's check. Just going to read. I believe we are creators. We are here to create. We are here to inspire and make the world more magical. I love that, Bradley. Yeah. And as we go through, if there's anything you want to share in the chat, feel free. And if not, that's okay too. All right. So hopefully there's some inspiration flowing there and a little bit of clarity. So the next piece, what we're starting to do here is kind of get to the purpose, right? Why, purpose. And then we can start to weave this into a couple of core pieces that are really part of that foundational brand strategy. So your brand mission statement is something, again, that you could choose to share. Some put this on the about page, but it is really core, even if you don't share it, to just have it for yourself and for your team. Because that's the thing too, is that all of these pieces are not just about you aligning with your audience. It's about you aligning with the people who are going to work with you, for you. It's really core for that, so that you, I don't know if anybody struggled with finding their people, but this is a thing that happens, is we have to at some point collaborate with someone. And it's really important that you get really clear, what are you doing and where are you going? So then you're not pulling someone on the path with you. You're actually just meeting people who are on that same path. And that's what you're doing by creating a mission statement, as I am on a mission to blank. So it's a core piece. It is required for a brand that feels intentional, that communicates a clear and compelling message, and that has cohesiveness throughout its brand activities. So it's really, think of a mission as a promise and a commitment that you're making to your audience and your clients, and you're telling them, like, This is what we are going to be. This is what we're going to create. And this is what we're going to make. That's essentially kind of what you want to state in your mission statement. So be, create, and make. And I'm going to talk a little bit about, we're going to talk separately about vision, but a lot of people get these two confused. So we're going to first start with mission. And again, this is the purpose of the mission statement is to inspire action. So that's really what we want to do. So the components, there are 4 parts of a mission statement. I think this is the most helpful way I've seen of how to break this down. So 1, it has a verb and it's in the present tense. It also includes a commitment. So what you do, who it's intended for. Number 3 is who it's intended for. And number 4 is what is the benefit? What do you provide? So the purpose of a mission statement, as I mentioned, is to inspire action, just like this adorable little girl. All right. So I will share a few mission statements so you can kind of see all those things come together. So verb, present tense, commitment, what you do, who it's intended for, and the benefit. So the Inspired Brand, our mission is to craft beautiful brands and communication platforms for conscious business owners, leveraging the power of collaboration, creativity, and community to inspire and empower positive social change. So the verb is to craft, right? What else did I have to weave in there? A commitment. So what we do, we build beautiful brands and communication platforms. And who it's intended for, well, where did I put that? Conscious business owners, right? And then the benefit, positive social change. And I wove in there as well through leveraging the power of collaboration, creativity, and community. This is an extra piece that I'm working on, but it's the collective, my team, the people that I collaborate with is a core part of our values. So I'm kind of throwing in values in there, but I like it. So I'm going to keep it, which also goes to show that it's your brand. So, these are structures and rules and whatever, but it's really just make it your own. These are just helpful so that you can be clear. And it also helps you get really clear in your thinking about your business and your brand. Another one that I love, Disney, our mission to entertain, inform, and inspire people around the globe through the power of unparalleled storytelling, reflecting the iconic brands, creative minds, and innovative technologies that make ours the world's premier entertainment company. So you can see, right? If you look at Disney and you see all that they've created, how that mission is really core to everything that they do. To entertain, inform, and inspire people around the globe. And through the power of storytelling, reflecting the iconic brands, creative minds, and innovative techniques that make the world's premier entertainment company. So I think I love seeing mission statements in action and seeing how they're carried out. I picked one of my favorites, Trader Joe's. I don't know if all of you have a Trader Joe's where you're from, but to me, I think they do such a great job of living their mission. So their mission is to give customers the best food and beverage values and the highest quality of customer satisfaction delivered with a sense of warmth, friendliness, fun, individual pride, and company spirit. So when I think of Trader Joe's, I think of Hawaiian shirts. I think of really, not cheap, value conscious, yummy food, right? And there's a fun and a playfulness to it too. So that sense of warmth, friendliness, fun, like they say it right there in their mission. So they do it, they live it. All right. So now time for you to write your mission statement. So back to the structure. Think if you can just take a stab at writing out a couple versions of what might a mission statement be for your brand. I think I do need to have some music, you guys. It's too quiet here. And if anybody wants to share any piece that came, even if they got the verb right, I'd love to hear. Love that. Our creations are an extension of who we are. Be magical, create magic. I love that. And when you say that, Bradley, I think, if you notice that language, you're stating what you believe, and you're also
it's hanging on the wall right by the switch.
I think if everyone could mute themselves, please. Bradley, I was just saying how it's stating what you believe, and it's also inviting people that believe the same thing, that really are called to be magical, right? So that's a really simple way to have like a vision or purpose statement, belief statement, why, all woven into that. Okay. All right. Well, feel free to jump in, share, unmute yourself. All right. We're jumping into the next piece. So we've got the why, the mission, and mission statement in progress. And now we're going to jump to vision. All right. So vision statement, if you think of it as the Northern Star, the direction that you want to go as a brand, as a business, what do you want your business to achieve in the future? It's the what, and also it's the who that you want to become. So it's a clear and powerful vision should direct your company's actions. It's kind of this aspirational piece. And you can have a really short and sweet vision statement, but there's also these kind of more longer vision statements, but we're going to keep it really short and sweet for today. I'm just going to I was just sharing before we dive into it, why is vision important? I think is important to think about because yes, there's some business actually research that's gone into it. For example, that is people do more business with businesses that they align with, that there's actual tangible business numbers that actually state that vision is really, really important. If an organization doesn't have a clear vision or an idea of what it is that they're doing and what they're aspiring to, then it kind of doesn't give people that place to hold on to kind of like latch on to that vision. So I think also what I have found is it really has been helpful for me to get clear about the vision when it comes to collaborators, employees, and people that I'm collaborating with, because we have to have a shared vision or else it doesn't work. And it doesn't have to be 100% shared, but at least we have to believe in that same sort of direction that we're heading in. So, all right. So I think I'm going to skip over that because we're still working on our vision. But this one for you, a vision statement describes what a business aspires to be. And it helps to think of it as kind of a roadmap, but also like inspiration. It's where you want to go when you get lost and forget what it is that you're doing and why. And so we're going to outline a longer term vision, but it's also going to help shape your purpose. So here's how to help clarify your vision. So what do you aspire to be? And this is overlapping a little bit. You'll see some of the similar, but when we go to craft it all together, it'll make sense. So why does your business exist? We've already added in. If you want to add more to this, you can. But how do you want your business to grow? So this goes to like the vision for your business and your business growth. Do you want to be a small team? Do you want to take over the world? What is your vision for that? And what problem does your product or service intend to solve? So as an example, Tesla, which is not my favorite brand, but they're trying. Tesla has a vision to create, basically eliminate our dependency on fossil fuels through the use of technology and design. That's their vision. And what are the changes that you believe your work can make for clients and for the world? So this is thinking, don't even think of it as thinking grandiose ideas, but really, what is that small ripple that you want to make in the lives of those that you serve and in the world? How will the world be different if your vision is realized? This is just another way to think of it, like the actual impact that you make through carrying out your vision. This is starting to weave into some descriptive language, which we'll talk about, but what phrases or keywords describe the type of business and outcome that you want? So as an example, I want freedom. I want my clients to feel inspired and create amazing things for the world. Actually ties into the next question. What do you wish your legacy to be? What do you want to contribute, and what do you want that lasting impact of your lifetime to be? Let you jot down a few more ideas. Bradley, I'm going to call on you. Any vision, inspiration come through for what you're creating?
The legacy question. This is referring to what we're doing at MAJIK Kids. So to empower the next generation of kids to live with love in their hearts and curiosity in their minds, enjoying their spirit.
I knew you would have something amazing. There you go.
Sounds like fun, right? Miguel, there's fun. That's fun. Yeah. Let's do that.
But see, it's also a vision that inspires you, and it inspires anybody who reads it, right? So that's the power of a good vision statement. Awesome. Thank you. Mm-hmm. All right. So I'll just read a few that I had and that I thought were, brands that people would know, not necessarily. I wanted to share some of the stuff from my clients, but you might not know them and resonate. So we all know LinkedIn, right? Whether we use it or not. Their vision is to create economic opportunity for every member of the global workforce. So that's essentially the thing that's the guiding North Star for all the things. And then they carry that out. Their mission is then how they do that, more practical in terms of what they do to carry that out. Zoom, which we're using right now, video communications, empowering people to accomplish more. So we would not be meeting if it wasn't for their vision to connect people through the power of technology and communications, right? So that is behind their vision. Google, to provide access to the world's information in one click. Do you remember a time before you Googled everything? I do. And I'm scared that I no longer have that capacity to do life without Googling everything that I hear and I'm curious about. But it's also how we are moving at this rapid rate of creativity and potential. So whether it's good or bad doesn't matter, but that's their vision. Let's see. Oh, I mentioned Tesla. So Tesla, to create the most compelling car company of the 21st century by driving the world's transition to electric vehicles. That's their vision. All right. I hope that started to spur at least some inspiration for everyone. And, again, don't let this be the last time you look at this. This is meant to be something that you keep developing and refining. And it is an ongoing work in progress. So just know that. And it is, for me, been the North Star of actually developing my business in the way that I want it to be. So it's something too that I think you want to do with team members. If you have team members that can contribute to this, let them contribute. It's much more exciting when you have a shared vision and when you can actually have other people's ideas. So use this as like a starting place, and then see what comes through when your team gets involved and when your collaborators get involved. Okay. All right. Now we're going to turn this into messaging and see how this can, and like Bradley's really just like so good at this. So he's already done that. But for all of us, we're going to then take, okay, we know our why. We probably, if we look at everything we've written, actually, I'm going to have you do a quick exercise. Look at everything you've written and see if there's words that jump off the page to you. And just start to circle things that are maybe like showing up a few times that just resonate with you, inspire you, or just kind of you notice. Okay. So once we've done that, feel free to type anything that you see into the chat that you feel called to share. And then while you're doing that, I'm going to share some of the messaging that we've used over the years. One is, your brand is a story waiting to be told. So this communicates this inspirational, this love of inspiration and creativity, this honoring that we are here to be creative, service of creative service in the world. But it's also aligning with our values around storytelling, and that we need to bring the humanity and the story into branding and business. So your brand is a story waiting to be told. It's also calling people into, it's an invitation really to develop their own brand story. I've used a memorable brand as a story that's never completely told as well, and that it's thoughtfully stewarded, constantly evolving, and alive with purpose. So these are words that I just want to kind of show you. Messaging can show up in a lot of different ways. You'll use it for marketing. You'll use it for your website copy. You'll use it for social media. But when I say brand messaging, these are like core components. These are like blocks of messages, really, that you're, and so it can be really helpful once you've done this vision, mission statement, like to weave all that into a statement that you kind of think is core to your brand. So let's see. Oh, I missed a slide. So for now, why don't you just see what shows up? If you were to have to come up with a little tagline or a little statement about your brand, what might you say? You looking at some of that inspiration that you've come up with throughout today. I think actually Bradley's was a great example. Oh, revolutionize magical stories for magical kids. I love it. Yeah, that's a great statement that encompasses what we are, who we are, what we stand for, and who we serve, all in 4 words, 5 words, which is pretty amazing. Yeah. Sometimes, and that's the power of words, right? Is that sometimes the right word has the energy and conveys the right thing. And so that's what the magic of messaging is, really like finding those right words and just keep refining it and getting it more and more distilled down to what is really, again, the less is more is true. So if you can say something with like 3 words, yay, more power to you. But really making an impact through your messaging is less is more. Create a living you love. Beautiful, Taryn. Yep. And Camille wrote earlier, revolutionize, create space, be softly. Beautiful. Be well with Michelle. Oh, I love that. That's perfect. I mean, that is a jingle. And yeah, I love it. And you have fun with it. Like, this is also what I want to say about messaging is like, it's an evolving, again, like I play every time I create something for anything, whether it's a presentation or whatever. I don't know what's going to come through. I have fun. I mean, Bradley knows I love alliteration. And in fact, you'll see the next slide. I mean, it's ridiculous. Like I just go with it and then it's like something for a little while and then it'll turn into something else. Right. But this is how we start to channel the inspiration that's coming through us. And this is how we start to develop messages that can resonate with people that we're trying to connect with. My whole business name is Whole Embodied Living Well with Michelle. I love that. So start to think about like if somebody was in front of you that really needed what you want, what would you want to tell them? That's actually one of the things that I like to think of when I start to craft messaging. What is, sometimes there's words like hope. Yeah. Okay. We'll move on because I could go on messaging for a long time, but I know this was another slide. So I had crafted this for another presentation. We are a marketing communications agency specializing in creating custom, strategic, and visually stunning brands and websites for soulful creators. So this is a longer one, but even if your core messaging is, what is that one sentence about piece, on your about page that should go right after your title and before your longer paragraph of what it is that you do. So there's like this one, I call it the about statement, but you could call it a million things. It's a key piece of messaging, which is that like one sentence statement of what you are, who you are, and what you do. So magical stories for magical kids, nailed it. I think that's the least amount of words I've seen in a statement, but you could also do like 3 words, right? I've seen people say like inspire, empower, captivate, right? That's like something that you can definitely leverage for that. So try attempt your own about statement and see what you come up with. All right. How are we doing on time? I think we're going to do it. Yay. All right. Moving on, just in case we want to get more Q&A done. So brand values. We've talked a lot about mission, vision, why, purpose. And this is something that I feel really is core. Whether or not you communicate this on your website it's important that you have this for your business and brand. And also so that I will say, I would put it on your website because people connect with this. This is the part that makes people align with you because they know that they are values aligned with your brand. And if you want people to really connect with you on a deeper level, your values need to be really clear. And also then you show up in support of those values over and over again. So these are beliefs. Values are beliefs that you as a company basically are saying, and you can come up with your own values. I like to do this exercise where I have people come up with their own values. And then I really help them understand the difference and also the overlap with their brand's values. So you're basically saying, what do I as a business and a brand stand for? And they basically create they are the compass that guides your story, your actions, your behaviors, your decision-making as a business. And again, the North Star for what you do. So again, some more business stats that 77% of consumers buy from brands that share their values. And think about it in terms of where you go to the grocery store, what kind of car you buy. More and more, actually, the world that we live in, this is the direction we're going, where we understand that to support a business that doesn't align with our values is actually causing a lot of problems on the planet, especially for those of us who are kind of a little more conscious about making an impact with our dollars, with our business. And this is also part of that brand story. So you're basically saying, this is what I believe, this is what I hold to be sacred. And then, this is also who I am. And this is, part of the story. So it also just, again, back to what we're doing, we're helping people. So the whole point of marketing, so if branding is part of marketing, we'll just say that the point of marketing is to have your audience know, like, and trust you. So branding helps them do that through clarifying who you are, giving your brand a personality and a humanity. And so when your values make you more human, they make it easy for people to align or not. So you want people, you're not going to serve the world. You want the people who are your people. And so brands or values just kind of help people figure that out. So our values, consciousness, creativity, community, collaboration, and contribution. And I have a lot more, but I kept it to 5 and I kept it to C's because I'm a geek of alliteration. So, but this is really, if I look at what we do and why we do it, these really do symbolize that for me. Community is a core value. Creativity is a core value. Consciousness is a core value. Collaboration, contribution. This is what I believe makes it all work. And this is what we strive to weave into everything we do as a business. All right. And then I'll just show you a couple other examples. Adidas, their values are performance, passion, integrity, and diversity. And I think they do a great job of representing those values in everything that they put out in the world. Oh, I thought I had more. Okay, well, that was Adidas. And so I want you guys to now develop at least a starting place for your values and some inspiration for that. So again, this is like, what are you going to uphold in pursuit of your mission and your vision? And you could call them principles, but they're very similar principles, values. So the following questions will help you clarify that. So what do you value most in your business? What do you believe in? What do you hold sacred? What do you stand for? And what do you want your audience to feel when they interact with you? So this is a value. So for example, I want people to feel inspired. I want people to feel empowered. Just state them as one word answers. Feel free. Oh, look, the chat blew up and I didn't even notice. Okay, here we go. I love these. Create a living. Create a living you love. Oh, I saw that. Okay. Joyfully seeking out a soulful meditation practice. Joyfully is different, right? So that's the difference with using words that make it unique in your own. Some people want peacefully or calmly or, joyfully seeking out a soulful meditation practice gives me a different energy around it, which I love. Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Keep it coming. Enter anything you'd like in the chat. We can share. Okay. This is just something I found interesting. There's actually a branding agency, very big one called Wunderman Thompson, and they have this annual top 100 Inspire score, most inspiring brands around the world, which I thought was interesting. And Google, Apple, Samsung, Amazon, Nestle are actually at the top for 2021, thanks to their ability to connect with people in new ways, inspiring people to think differently and elevate people's lives. So if you wanted to go check that out, I don't know, it's kind of a good framework and it shows you sort of the brands in action. So what is it that makes it inspiring and why and how they actually put those statements together? You can kind of go and Google some of those and see that. Okay, so Michelle, connection, progress, dreams, integrity, held and seen and safe. So you want people to feel those things. I got it. So it sounds like integrity, I definitely feel as a value. And maybe I'm almost thinking safe space or, like having, that creation of a container, of a safe container is a value. There's honoring, the word honoring came in for me too, just because, you really are honoring that person deserves that. Wonderful. So attunement, Taryn, attunement, choice, peace, self-authority, and supported. Loved, cherished, nourished, and lifted. Oh, I love lift. I love that. Nourished. Yes, we all need nourishment. Wonderful. All right. Well, I hope this was helpful in just clarifying some of these. And again, there's no rules. So whatever speaks to you and resonates for you, you can create your own personal values, create your brand values. But I would recommend, it's interesting. I did this exercise when I first started. My first life coach I ever worked with, I was just entering my Saturn return. I was 27, 28. And I really look back. I found the journal when I moved recently, and the first thing she had me do was clarify my personal values. And it was a really jarring exercise because I realized that I was saying that I was all about these things. I was talking about how I was all about travel and adventure and family, and I was working a 9-to-5, and I hadn't traveled home to Peru in 12 years. And I, was just like having this life experience that was totally out of alignment with what I actually believed and wanted to call in for my life. And so that very next year, for me, travel and adventure, like I booked that trip to Peru finally, and I went back and visited my family, and I went to Machu Picchu, and I did all these things that were like living my values, and it changed my life. And I will say that looking back and revisiting that, I did the same thing for my business when I started. And I look and I see where everything is still totally aligned, and where I've gotten much more clear and more focused and discerning about what I'm actually up to. All right. So I hope that was helpful. I will also share just a quick sort of a couple screenshots, which I was going to share more about at some point. But what I thought was interesting, Apple's just something that everybody knows. But I will say that when you look at Apple's stuff, right? What are words? If you just type in the chat real quick, what do you think of when you see their brand? What are words that pop into mind when you see their advertisements or their logo? Simplicity, beautiful, recognition, elegance, high quality. Yeah, exactly. Chic. Very cool. Yes. All of the above. So their values around simplicity, minimalism, right? But it's actually more about intentional. So everything they do has a purpose. And if it doesn't, it's not part of it, right? That's actually an annoying quality of Apple, as well as they take away ports and practical things like cables. But they are all about innovation. And so they are going to take you into the next century, whether you like it or not, right? And they're also going to eliminate anything that is superfluous and doesn't need to be there. And so look at the Apple logo in the top. That's all it needs, right? It's got this gorgeous little illumination, but that's it. So the point of branding is you're creating visual communications, you're creating text and words. So sometimes just the words on the page will inspire those same core values and resonate to the same vision and mission that a picture would, right? All right. So I hope this is starting to kind of make sense in terms of how we translate it. So I'm just going to show you one piece of what I was weaving together as the brand archetype presentation that I hope to be able to share in Creators Club. There's no way we were going to cover all of it, but I wanted to share. So if you're familiar with Carl Jung and his work on archetypes, and if you're not, basically the idea is that human beings in our psyche, we have essentially the way that we create the world is through characters and story. And so these characters that show up in our collective subconscious are sort of outlined in these core 12 ways. So for the brand archetypes that they've crafted, it's 12 key characters, right? And so these are, they reflect the personality of, in this case, a brand. And it also serves to better align personality types with, what we do as part of that brand strategy is we create a customer persona. So like, how is our client, what archetype does our client fit in? But for our purposes, we're going to talk about like our own archetype, right? So what are we as a brand archetype? And so it's pretty, again, universal. It's very simplified because I could talk a lot about Carl Jung's work, but we're just basically going to try and use it as an orienting and focusing tool. So to give your brand a human characteristic and persona in this fun way. So these archetypes are like a constellation of behaviors and personality traits and like an essence, right? So as brand owners, it can be really helpful to kind of have this core archetype that you kind of own and claim and represent and carry out through your branding. So it creates alignment, resonance with your audience. So these 12 are the outlaw or the rebel, the magician, the hero. We know the hero very well because our collective consciousness really needs to have heroes right now, is what I believe to be true. The lover, the jester, the everyman, the caregiver, the ruler, the creator, the innocent, the sage, and the explorer. So we are going to dive deep into this, I promise, at some point, and I will share these slides again, so don't worry about taking screenshots. But what I love about this is as soon as you see this, in fact, right now, just write down, is there one that resonates right now? If you were to have to pick one of these for your brand, what do you think that archetype might be? Each of these archetypes, I'll just mention, has just like a person, right? Fears, driving motivations, goals, places they go when they're balanced and doing really great, and places they go under stress. So it's like this whole persona that is driving this archetype. And then what they've done is they've decided, they've kind of noticed that certain archetypes are really focused on this one particular mission. So for the outlaw, the magician, and the hero, they've really driven by leaving a legacy. The lover, the jester, and the everyman are really about pursuing connection and creating connection. The caregiver, the ruler, and the creator are all about providing structure and a framework. And the innocent, the sage, and the explorer are all things woo-woo and mystical and spirituality. They're the philosophers. All right, Andrea, do you want to share? No, she's like me. Yeah. And so if you notice, as soon as you start to understand these archetypes or these components as human characteristics and behaviors and driving motivation, right? That makes you connect. You're like, yes, I am that too. And that's what we're trying to do with everything that we share, is really just connect it to the human experience that is on the other end of receiving the brand, and that is you creating it. All right. So this is interesting stuff. I'm not going to go deep, but I wanted to just show you one example, which is the one that we really all know. It's the hero. So we have lots of examples of the hero, but how it carries out as a brand, it's on a mission to make the world a better place. The hero is courageous, bold, and inspirational. So examples of this are Nike, BMW, Duracell, and I have a few others that I didn't weave in here, but the promise of the hero is that life doesn't have to be hard. Keep it simple. The core desire is to experience paradise. The goal is to be happy. Oops, hang on. Did I not do the right things? I might have put the wrong piece in here, you guys. I apologize. I'll fix it when I share the slides, but I'll just show you examples. See, because mistakes happen. These are hero archetype in branding. And if you can tell, Nike does it really well. Just do it, right? Do things history could only dream of. Remember what we said is that motivation of the hero is to leave a legacy. So that statement right there, do things history could only dream of, it's literally speaking to that, right? If they think your dreams are crazy, show them what crazy dreams can do. So this is that boldness of a hero. Oops, excuse me. Where did he go? Hang on, guys. Let me stop sharing and share that again. Almost made it without a glitch, huh, Bradley? Hang on.
You're doing great.
Oh, thanks. Hang on. Where we go?
Lots of good stuff here.
Cool. I'm excited that it's resonating in any way. So let me just get back to presenter mode here.
Everybody is speed writing.
Yeah, exactly. Take this moment let me just get us back to where we were. Okay, share screen. There we go. We'll get our slide back to the right order. Covered a lot of ground. Wow. Okay. And let me see if I can pull up the right one for the hero, because those core components of the hero are important. There we go. Okay, here we are. Give me one sec. While you do that, Bradley, if you want to read anything that's in the chat, I'm just going to find a quick little something.
Andrea has to go, but appreciates everything. So everybody just share in the chat. What has been a top insight, a top thought that perhaps you have not, you've not come across inside of your own mind before that is going to help you to focus your branding? Hopefully at the end of today, you can go to your website and you can apply some of this new energy, this new clarity to it. Taryn's curious about the brand archetypes.
Yep. I'll just share real quick before anybody jumps off. So the voice, so the brand voice, there's the core driving motivator of a hero archetype is mastery. And this core voice, or the voice that they want to convey, is honest, candid, and brave. So bravery is a big core value as well, right? Of the hero archetype, courage. So these are how we start to define and break these down. This is where you weave in more of that, again, deeper layers of developing your brand as a persona. And we will absolutely cover this in Creators Club, but hopefully we'll share it in some way to the whole MAJIK community in some way, shape, or form. I'm glad it resonates because it is something that has really changed the way I do branding. And feel free to, if you can stay for the Q&A, I would love it. But if you can't, just send us an email, bradley@magicmedia.com, I believe, or Claudia@theinspiredbrand.com. We're just all teaming up, and we're going to have a platform eventually inside the Creators Club where we bring all this stuff inside of there, and we collaborate back and forth with resources and insights and feedback, etc. So what I didn't get a chance to do on this presentation is to really show you then how do we take that into the visual components, but I tried to kind of show you a couple of, examples of that, because the visual flows from having all these pieces really clearly defined and outlined for yourself. That it truly is. It comes like you'll see an image and you go, yep, that's courage, that's freedom. But until you understand what is the mission, vision, purpose, and what is it, the why of what you're creating and what you actually want to inspire in the world, it's going to be it's like grasping at straws. It will feel confusing and misaligned and unfocused. So I really encourage you to continue to do this and to really define it for yourself even. But eventually it might make its way into your about page or, whatever it is that you need to create for your brand. So, all right. Thank you guys so much for being here. I invite you to just write down for yourself or inside of the chat, what inspired you today? What are you leaving here with? What do you want to learn more about? So we can weave it into Creators Club, and maybe what's more clear than it was when you started. And most importantly, what are you committing to for your business and your creative work? How are you going to take this insight and make your work more clear, more powerful, more inspiring? And before anyone leaves, I just want to share one beautiful quote that I love, which is from one of my favorite books, Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. Do you have the courage to bring forth this work? The treasures that are hidden inside you are hoping that you say yes. So I really believe that each of us has a purpose. And if we're here having this conversation, it's because we are here to support each other in bringing that forward. And I'm just so grateful that you said yes to being on this call and on this workshop. And I look forward to a lot more connection and inspiration and helping each other bring it out, bring it forward. Thank you guys so much. I do invite you to join Creators Club. Obviously, it's going to be a fabulous community of creators. We are taking applications before April 22nd. So go on over to magicmedia.com/creators-club. And, and Michelle, you missed the core. And the washers fix. Oh, good. Okay. Well, we are definitely going to send out the recording for this one. We got the recording happening. So, you will get to dive into anything you missed. And I hope this was inspiring and helpful for all of you. Committing to looking at images we use for social media. There you go. Yep. So again, I'll just share real quick another little piece, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. Thank you. That's me. So I have had a whole thing with social media. That's how Bradley and I connected. So I will say that what I'm more inspired than anything to do right now is, if each of you are purposeful and intentional and really clearly aligned to what it is that you're creating in the world, and that you create content from that place, it's going to be beautiful. If everything that we see, because what's happened is the values that we've seen play out in our content is around capitalism at all costs, right? Content for the sake of content. Literally when I first started, it got social media was just taking off. But within a few years of doing this work, the reason I was grossed out by the word brand is that I saw that everything was inauthentic. Everything was just about clicks, and everything started to be about just putting content out there for the sake of filling in your social media grid. It's no, why? I don't want to see crap. I can tell when it's crap. So people, I really want to inspire people to actually create content that moves people, that inspires, that actually makes a difference, and that is aligned to a real core purpose. So anyway, that's my inspiration. I really thank you for listening and being here, and we'll continue the conversation. So please unmute yourselves, enter anything into the chat that you want to chat about. I'll stop sharing now.
Hey, Claudia, was there a book that you learned about these brand archetypes that Carl Jung's? What would you recommend reading?
There's a few books. I'll remember it and I'll send it out in the follow-up, but there's also, just go online. There's actually an organization. There's a lot of different variations of it. And one that I really loved, I can't remember. The Unmistakable Creative is one guy who wrote some stuff on it. And then I'll send it out with the resources. Yeah. Can't remember exactly. Yeah, it's interesting. The more I research, because I actually wanted to become certified, and there's not really, it's like everybody's kind of developed their own version of it. Stephen Horahan, that's the guy. So he's kind of this big brand strategist guy, and I'll put his name in the chat real quick. He has a lot of really good information on it as well. Here, I'll put that there.
Thanks, Claudia.
Yeah.
I would never have spelled it that way. So
well, I know it's a good old Irish name.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Love that book, Big Magic. I know this, I was going to say the power of books, right? Like, how do we keep ourselves inspired? If it wasn't for this book, I honestly think I would have gotten a real job. I was at the point of feeling like, I just couldn't fill my cup. And it was feeling very much like I was burning out. And I read this book and I realized, oh my gosh, that part of what I do through my work in service of other people is my creative gift. And I just have to keep unfurling it, and eventually it will be my own thing. And so, this is living, breathing proof of that. So if you can't get inspired, go listen, read somebody else's process of staying inspired. And that's just one of them. I mentioned, what was the other one last? The War of Art is a big one that just isn't easy. Everything will just kind of wake you up when you read it. You're like, oh, yep. Okay. Yep. So
you've just activated me on a comment you said earlier about get a real job. I was like, what about your job right now isn't real? It's totally real.
Well, after 14 years, you'd think I'd think that. But I think, the running joke, everybody has their thing. When I mentioned at the beginning that entrepreneurship is a transformational path, it absolutely is. It will hold you to the best and the worst of yourself. It will shine a light on where you have to grow as a leader, as a creator, because you're basically saying, this is my worth and this is my value. Nobody else is going to do that. They're not going to give you a title that says, oh, you're a chief executive officer, therefore you're important. Like, you have to hold that for yourself. And you also have to stand. I mean, there's so many things, right? That like, it'll show you where you don't partner well, where you don't. Integrity is a huge word for me. And that is one of the biggest things that, I feel like in this lifetime, I committed to being of full integrity. And so when you're an entrepreneur, if you're not, that stuff's going to show up all over the place, So I do think that entrepreneurship is one of the most transformational paths that I could have chosen. If you keep doing it, some people, they tap out.
Yeah.
3 years in, usually. So
it's real.
It is real. Bradley knows. But if you hang in there, the magic is there. The magic is in hanging in and really doing the work, Anyone else? Gail, how was that? Did you get some insight, inspiration? Oh, almost.
Yeah, I did. Because as soon as you said SWOT analysis, it's like everything just started flooding back.
Oh, really? That's the word, huh?
Believe it or not, I'm like, oh shit, yeah, okay. No, because I have my master's degree, so before that, even the SWOT analysis, I've seen it used in so many ways, on a personal level and also on a business level. Mm-hmm. And for some reason, I keep circling back to that. I don't know why. And I just read something in a book I have called Ladies Power Up Your Brand. And it said she remembered who she was and the game changed. And something about that statement describes my why. And I'm trying to figure out how to do that.
I love that statement, by the way. Yeah.
Because I love painting. And I started on this adventure with painting because I feel that's a safe place for people to experiment with what's going on inside of them and overcome their obstacles. But more than that, it's about remembering, who you are, that thing that you forgot because you went and took care of all this other shit in your life, and then you get to a point where you're like, so now what do I do? And I think more than anything, I want people to remember, what is that about you that you forgot? What's your greatness that you just can't see because life has intervened and obscured that and put you in this foggy place, So
what you just said is so powerful, first of all. And also I could see that as the first page of your website. What is the greatness that you have forgotten? A powerful messaging could be a powerful question. In fact, so much of the websites I've loved, creating the brands I've loved, is to really get to that core question, especially when you're working with people in a transformational space, because that question is powerful enough. And I mean, Tara knows about powerful questions in the coaching and CTI world. That does the job of inviting people to go and really, it speaks to their heart. It speaks to the part that's longing for, being met. And that's what we're doing with branding, is we're meeting people and we're sharing, hopefully from a soulful place. This is who I am. This is what I believe in. This is what I have to offer. And then when you do that really well, you don't have to sell anybody on anything, which is also what I wanted to mention at the beginning. And I forgot. I think part of what I've done is evolve a way in which I don't have to sell people, because I hate selling people. And it really is just this organic sharing at that point, and you kind of become a beacon for the people that you're supposed to connect with. Bradley was. I mean, he put out his message really loud and clear. He put his values out really loud and clear. And I was like, woo, like that's me. That's who I want to work with, you know? That's how it should be. But that question that you asked, and remember, the word remember, I think that could even be a value in and of itself, you know? That remembering is a value.
Yeah, you have a lot of wisdom, Gail. I was like writing down what you were saying as you were speaking. I was like, yes, more of that, please.
Well, good. Thank you. There's one person anyway.
Oh, stop.
There's a lot of people.
Joke.
Yeah.
Thanks.
We all have, it's our essence. The unique essence of our wisdom is what we're here to help you clarify. It's awesome. And so do you, Taryn. And so do you, Camille and Michelle and Bradley and Neil and Spirit. This is so beautiful. I'm just so grateful. I can't tell you how nervous I was putting this together, but I will share that it was just, I think what I'm learning, especially with yoga, is that, our fear, that energy, that like nerves, is actually just creative energy. That's it. And like our work is really to learn how to work with it instead of suffocate it or, you know, run away from it, create resistance around it. But it's overwhelming because it's our life force, you know, and it's also.
Yeah, Claudia, of like scared and excitement, it's the same energy. One of my mentors, she calls it scared.
Yes.
Excited and scared all at the same time.
Yes. And also that when I've learned that if you breathe, it helps. But also learning, I think when you get to the really core part of why you're here. So that's another piece of the soul piece. Like for me, it shows up all the time, but especially when you're right at the edge of like what you came here to do. So it gets really scary when it's that thing that you've been working towards your whole life. Right. And, but that's why we're here to support each other. Because what I've learned is like, you're not going to do it yourself. You need fellow stewards to help you bring it into form. And you also don't have to do it yourself. Like it's so much easier. I would not have put this presentation together if it wasn't for Bradley and Neil and having Creators Club be, you know, this web of beautiful people. You guys each have inspired me to put this together, you know, and that's what we need, is to kind of like bounce off of each other. So
I think that you did an amazing job. I was annoyed that, of course, it had to be, I had a window for the washer between noon and 5. Of course, they had to come right at the meat of the, but thank you for putting it all together. And you said something about like being right on the edge. And that is really the place that we really learn. That's the best place for us to learn, is right just a little bit beyond our comfort zone. And these are very exciting times. And I feel really grateful to have been introduced to this team. Mm-hmm. And I always prefer, I'm a Libra, so I really enjoy balance and being with people, and collaborating is just I love to collaborate. I like to bounce ideas and yeah.
Well, I'll share a little secret in that an old story I would tell up until very recently was that I was not walking my talk and I was not living my talk. I was not doing my own branding, my own marketing. I wasn't really getting clear about what it is that I was doing. And lately I've realized, no, I did. I was doing my work, but now for me to get to the next stage, it just was very clear. Like it's actually, you have to do it again. You have to clarify this again, because you're entering this new chapter and phase. And all of us know, right, what it is that we're being called to and where we're resisting. But putting a presentation together, for years, it became easier for me to just say, oh, I'm just helping, I'm supporting other people and sharing their gifts and their mission and their vision. So I was on the board of nonprofits. So it was like, that's what I did. Literally, you're just supporting another mission, vision, and values out in the world. So what I'm going to challenge everybody in Creators Club is to do what I've just done, which is, even if you don't put it out there, what's your core mission? What's your vision? What are your values? And just put it down, and create something with it so that then you can see how it unfolds, because you don't know. But anyway, so grateful. Oh, Camille, thank you. Blessings to you. Blessings to you back. Yeah.
Thank you so much. This was so amazing, so inspiring. I have words on a page. It's like a little miracle. I so do. Riding that nervy wave thing. It's a real roller coaster. So I really appreciate you being here today.
Thank you. Really appreciate that as well. And I'm so grateful. Words on a page is a beautiful place to start.
Yes, it's way better than before. So thank you. And thank you to the other people in the group too, for all your 2 senses that are very wise as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Bye for now.
Bye, Camille. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, everyone.
Well, how are we feeling? Are we full?
Feels complete.
Feels really good and complete. Wonderful.
This is fabulous. You did wonderful. Off the charts.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much again for being part of such a beautiful experience and me sharing my gifts in the world. And I'm so grateful that it resonated in any way. And I really hope we continue the conversation and the refinement of what it is you're here to create in the world, and what I'm here to share and contribute as well. So thank you so much, and have a beautiful week, everyone.
You will.
And next week, while this percolates this week, next Wednesday, we have an Ask Us Anything with Claudia, Neil, and I. So tech questions, media questions, branding questions, business planning questions, business strategy, mighty networks, community development, launch strategy, all the things that you could possibly think of to ask. Pre-submit those questions. We'll be sending an email for people to ask those questions ahead of time so that we can prepare ourselves as best as possible. So that it's not just popcorn style, it'll all be pre-asked.
Michelle, did you have a question?
I was just going to ask a pre-question, but my pre-question is, I am searching for online services that are ecologically and ethically sound. So like, I'm not interested in having a web hoster that is owned by a mega corporation that maybe, so I've done a lot of research on my own about these things, and it's hard to find companies. And I was just curious to know if you've done any research into that, and you don't have to answer it now, but that's one of my questions.
I think that's beautiful. It speaks to your values. So write those down if you haven't already, but the eco consciousness, and that's something that you want to carry out in all the decisions that you make, and what you stand for in the decisions of even hosting your website. Right. So I have a couple ideas. I'll share those on next week's call. But the other thing is, I know Taryn is in this really powerful place in your content creation process. So have specific questions that are strategy oriented. Like you would take that into a strategy call with either of 3 of us, because we want to do a lot of laser coaching and helping you get value right there, So yeah, think of where you're stuck, where you feel like, you need to kind of get clear. And we'll share as much as we can next week.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Have a beautiful week.
Next week. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Claudia.
Bye, guys.
Bye.